What? Holiday? You can't go on holiday. I can't go a week without hearing vitriol, venom, and copious swearing being levelled at the games industry in a conspicuously British accent. Drastic measures must clearly be taken. But as I have no idea where you're vacationing, alternative drastic measures must clearly be taken. I shall review a title myself. Just give me a second here. No. Been done, no. Not paying full price for an unfinished game. No. Aha! The original Spy vs. Spy games are among the first examples of deathmatch gameplay and appeared long before the gore-encrusted likes of Doom. While with 3 games in the series, the first was pretty basic and the third was crap, so I'm focusing my attention on the second. Titled The Island Caper, the game's premise was simple. Outwit an enemy agent in retrieving 3 parts of a nuclear bomb, lost amid the jungles of a deserted atoll, and reach an escape sub before the local volcano goes all Dante's Peak. Arguably a far more entertaining setup than your average contemporary shooter, which all seem to be played out in various desert battlefields decimated by oil-grabbing warfare, terrorism, or the massive Russian onslaught the games industry seems convinced will happen tomorrow. What made the Island Caper such a delight was the fact that victory depended on you using the tools provided in as creative manner as possible. And what fun tools they were. Forget your sniper rifles and airstrikes, Spy vs. Spy had an arsenal that is yet to be trumped. Sticks, coconuts, and a shovel. Not quite as lethal sounding as a Spetsnaz shotgun, but infinitely more versatile. Coconuts could be loaded with fuel from a crash jet to create bombs, the shovel could dig pit traps, the pit traps could then be hidden with sticks, and if you were a truly devious bastard you could set a snare that would drag the enemy spy into it. Let's see you do something as delightfully dastardly as that in Battlefield Bad Company. In fact, there are few titles these days that allow for a player to be as creative during a deathmatch. Aside from that most publishers believe gamers to be incapable of thought, and that therefore all games must be simple enough for Plankton to play, it is clear as to why. Spy vs. Spy was a very sedate game, and there were only 2 players. Your average run-and-gun deathmatch of today supports 20-plus squeaky-voiced American children, all of whom can, at the drop of a hat, send your face flying through the back of your head with a single shot of their rifle from the other side of the map. It's simply not the kind of environment that allows the time required to dig a hole and line it with sharpened bamboo. In my opinion, the world of games is worse for it. Team Fortress 2 has come the closest in a long while to generating the same thrill as Spy vs. Spy did, especially if we're playing not as the spy, ironically, but as the engineer. Finding a sneaky vantage point and setting up a turret there gives you the same buzz as watching an opponent trigger a napalm-filled coconut. Despite my immense fondness for Spy vs. Spy, I have to say that it hasn't aged well. Even when I first played it, I thought it looked rather crummy. It is on the Commodore 64, after all, so massive pixels were the order of the day, and working out just what everything was took a bit of effort. A line of black dots is a stick, a circle of black dots is a rope, that thing that looks like a sock is a jet, and the brown lump is a coconut. I didn't actually realize there were coconuts for a while. Being a puerile-minded young thing at the time, I naturally concluded that they were lumps of poo, which made it all the more hilarious that they exploded, and made one wonder just what the local wildlife had been eating. On top of the aged graphics is a clunky control method. The joystick is no doubt the most awesome-looking input device in history, but they're very fragile things, and if a game calls for the player to waggle one with vigor, as Spy v Spy does should you fall foul of one of the island's many patches of quicksand, it's going to break. And mine did. I think I went through about 5 of the things over the space of a year or so. When a new Spy vs. Spy game was announced for the PlayStation 2, I did hold my breath. The thought of running around an oil rig being as dastardly as I had been on a pixelated island over a decade earlier naturally made me all giddy. Traps and backstabbing now in glorious 3D? Yes, please. My disappointment at the end result can simply be described as absolute. It was a Spy vs. Spy game in name only, sharing none of the devious charm that made the original so playable. Accuse me of looking toward old games through rose-tinted glasses as much as you want, but the question that arises has yet to be answered. Why aren't contemporary multiplayers as fun, imaginative, and engaging? Why aren't developers trying to duplicate the exotic thrills of being dumped on a deserted island with naught but a shovel and the knowledge that somewhere out there is another player trying to kill you? Surely I can't be the only one that enjoys watching people fall down a hole. Bloody hell, I'm glad I don't have to do this every week.